Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of the Las Vegas Advisor Weekly Update with Anthony and Andrew. Today is Thursday, May 26th, and we have some interesting news. We have some inside information.
I think so. I think it's inside. I mean, at least it hasn't been confirmed. We're talking about the Artisan Hotel, which is located off of I-15 on Sahara.
Yep.
And it's, how would you describe it?
I describe it a little boutique hotel,
Right.
and there's a sign on it that says it can be rented out for private parties for $10,000.
Yeah, something like that. I thought it was $8,500 even, that you could rent it out for a whole day. It's 64 rooms only, but it was sold earlier this year to a group that has they're known as a weed-friendly company. And they build hotels, or they take over hotels and they convert them into weed-friendly hotels. They've got one in Phoenix that's called the Clarendon. It's called the Clarendon in Phoenix.
Okay.
So, the idea was, or what everybody expected when they buy the Artisan here, is that they were going to do the same thing. And some information has leaked out that it looks like they're going to. Apparently, they're going to sort of rebrand the whole thing and get it ready for a September opening, and they're going to call it Elevate.
Well, that sounds cool.
It's going to be called Elevate, and it's going to be weed friendly.
There we go.
So smoke in the rooms, eat in the rooms, whatever. And then they're putting going for their license to get a consumption lounge as well. So you'll be able to, that's what people don't really understand, is that you can buy it legally, but you can't smoke it legally.
You can buy it legally everywhere. There's so many dispensaries in town. You got Planet 13, you got MedMen, you got a whole slew of them, but there's nowhere to smoke.
And it doesn't mean they're not doing it, because when you walk up, by one of these places, you can smell it everywhere.
Sure.
So they're smoking, they're buying it and they're smoking outside. But technically it's illegal. And, we're moving toward the cannabis lounges, consumption lounges, and looks like the former Artisan, which will be Elevate, is going to be one of them come September.
Yep. And also, this is a super cool place. Like, I wouldn't change a thing on the interior. The interior is beautiful, and it's almost Gothic looking, and they've been known to have some wild parties at the Artisan.
Yeah, I've spent some time there as well, and it's kind of dark a little bit, but I hear they're going to auction off all that stuff. And it's going to have a completely different look. So looking forward to it.
All right. Well, that's exciting. Moving on, the I-15 southbound project at PRIMM. Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here?
Well, you're probably the best one to talk about it, because you do a lot of, back and forth between Vegas and L.A. And when you're heading home, especially if you try to do it on a weekend, when you get to PRIMM, there's about a 15, 20-mile stretch where the road narrows to 2 lanes. And you've been caught in those traffic jams, right?
Sure. A bunch of times. Always going back from California to Vegas.
Yeah. So, this is news for people that are going back and forth between, these two cities. But amazingly, they're going to widen to 3 lanes. It's only 2 lanes right now. When you hit that area at PRIMM, it drops from 3 or 4 to just 2 lanes, and that's where the bottleneck comes from. So what they're going to do is they're going to use the shoulder of the road. They're going to widen it, and it's not going to be 3 lanes all the time, but whenever it's busy after a holiday or on a weekend, they're going to open it to 3 lanes.
Okay. Well, that's pretty exciting, and hopefully that will help with traffic.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it sounds like that's a pretty narrow, no pun intended, but it's a narrow focus. But they say that 25% of all visitation to Vegas comes via that freeway.
Yeah.
So this does affect a lot of people, and but they didn't put a timeline on it, so we don't know exactly when.
All right. Well, then we'll have to keep everybody updated as we hear anything. And in poker news, the World Series of Poker is starting on May 31st out here in Vegas.
Yeah, less than a week away.
Yeah.
First time on the Strip.
Yep.
No longer at the Rio after, I think, 15 or 16 years, maybe even longer. And it's going to be running at Bally's and Paris.
Okay.
Which Bally's was supposed to have changed already to the Horseshoe. They wanted to name it the Horseshoe, but I haven't seen an official changeover on that yet.
Yeah, we reported on that a few weeks ago. But then also there's going to be other tournaments going on concurrently.
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that the big one is the World Series of Poker, but there are 6 more big tournaments on the Strip in downtown that are going to be running at the same time. And these are where a lot of people go to play for lower buy-ins, or to play against maybe what they consider to be lesser competition. I don't know if that's necessarily so. So the places are going to be running their poker tournaments. Some of them have already begun. They've already started, even as we're talking now. The Venetian, the Wynn, Golden Nugget downtown, Orleans, South Point on the South Strip, and a new one at Aria.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So these are all going to have, they've got their own main events. They've got their own satellites to the main events.
Okay.
So, you can come to town and you can play poker in the World Series, or you can go to one of these smaller ones and, go for the gusto there.
Any satellites that'll get you into the WSOP main event?
It's all hooked up with satellites all over the place. I don't know exactly where they're all going to be. You can do some online. Certainly you can do them at the venues, right there at Bally's and Paris. I don't think... Well, I won't say that. I think there might be some crossover where you can play satellites at some of these others, but not necessarily. They'll have satellites for their own main event.
Okay. Well, again, that's exciting, and this goes on for a few weeks here in Vegas, and
more like a month, more like a month and a half, like 6 weeks of poker frenzy, during the summer.
All right. So we'll be reporting on it as it gets down to the wire.
We definitely will. I mean, when we get to the main event and some of the big ones, we'll keep everybody up to date on what's happening.
Speaking of tournaments, Anthony, people were commenting on that photo of you last week at Caesars from
the TikTok.
Yeah, the TikTok picture. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the question they're all asking was, what that was a photo of me. I think we've put it back up on the screen here, getting a championship trophy at Caesars Palace.
And that was for a Keno tournament.
And everyone says, you play Keno?
Yeah, they go, what's Anthony Curtis doing playing Keno tournaments?
Right, Keno, supposedly the worst game in the casino, right? With a casino edge of 30% plus. Well, the difference is that we were playing tournaments. Mm-hmm. And anytime you play a tournament, there's a beatable factor in it. And a Keno tournament is not the same as playing Keno. And a crap tournament is not the same as playing craps.
Right.
And what we did is we would find, this was the team I played on. Stanford Wong put it together, very famous gambling expert, written many books, blackjack and other things. And he put together this tournament team. And Keno was one of the most beatable of all of the games that we would play.
So what was the secret?
Well, see, that's what they would always ask me, because in this particular photo, I had won it 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the first one I was maybe 35,000. The second one was 50,000. And here I was again, same guy. I mean, at the time I was 20-some years old, and they're like, here's this kid winning at Keno. And I would tell them, to get them off the scent, I would go, well, it's my numbers.
Yeah.
And they all bought it.
Yeah.
Right. And they go, well, what are your numbers? And I didn't even have them made up. Right. I go,
you're like 42, 5.
It was like the year I bought my dog. It's my birthday. It's my, my brother's anniversary.
Right.
I just made up these things on the spot.
Yeah.
Now, the reality is what we were doing is that we had computer models for all of these games. Mm-hmm. And it's not about the numbers you pick. It's about and it's really not about patterns. People go, well, it's patterns, right? It's not that either. It's about how many numbers you choose and for what amount within the constraints of how much money you've been given to play with. So we would take every tournament and you'd say, okay, we're going to give you 5,000 to play with, and you can play X number of games. And what we would do is watch and wait as long as we could to see who was leading the tournament, who had gotten lucky and who had hit. And then we would bet our money in a particular way that if any combination hit, we would take the lead by $1.
Okay.
And that's the way we played it.
So you would reduce from playing like 10 spot, 9 spot. You would sit there and play 6 spot, 5 spot,
right.
4 spot.
What you would do is you would start with say, okay, can we win this with a 3 spot?
Yeah.
Okay, if we bet it all on a 3 spot, all we got to do is hit that 3. And we win the tournament.
And then you go ahead.
Yeah,
okay.
And then we go, okay, we can bet. Usually you couldn't bet a 3. Okay, so we've got to bet a 4 spot, and we've got to bet $200 or $150 4 spots.
Yeah.
And we can bet 2 of them. So we would bet those, boom, boom, and then we go, now we can bet 2 5 spots, but we have to bet, and we can bet less. So instead of betting 150, we can bet these 5 spots at maybe $60. And then we can bet 1 7 spot for $10 and 1 8 spot for $3. And any one of those would take us to the first place position or the tournament victory.
Wow.
And that's how we did it.
And these were all single card Kenos that you were playing?
Yeah, typically, yeah. But I mean, whatever it was, we would adapt to it.
Okay.
So that's what we were doing. And people would go, well, how can you win at a Keno tournament? How can there be strategy? Well, the strategy was in the way that we bet our money based on the way the thing was. And it was interesting because there's a book on it that we publish, and it's called Casino Tournament Strategy.
Oh, okay.
And that began as a notebook that Stanford Wong gave to me. and the three other members of our team. There were 5 of us.
It's your homework. You got to study it.
That was our homework, and we studied it. And that notebook became Casino Tournament Strategy, which has this Keno strategy in it that I'm talking about.
Okay, so it has the Keno strategy, but it also has strategy for poker tournaments, craps tournaments, etc.
Not poker. It has blackjack, craps. I think there's something on roulette in there.
Okay.
Something on baccarat in there.
Okay.
We played them all.
Okay.
And we were extremely successful.
So you can check out the book. We'll put a link in the description box below, and you know what to do. And this week's Jackpot of the Week is really fun because this show has had influence on Eric.
Apparently.
So Eric W. writes in, I've been going to Vegas for years, but never thought that I would try video poker until I saw your Jackpot of the Week segments. I read up on video poker, watched some YouTube videos, and I downloaded an app to help me make the mathematically correct video poker decisions. At MGM Grand, an Ultimate X nickel machine caught my eye, and I thought, what the hey, it's only a nickel base. So I thought it would be a good video poker practice. Well, as you can see, I got super lucky being dealt quads with a 10-time multiplier. This is my first time ever playing, and I wanted to share this jackpot with LVA and its viewers.
That's a nice story.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, it looks like he hit for about 12,000 nickels, so that's a $600 hit. Kind of interesting. I'll comment on a few things he said. Ultimate X isn't really the best way to practice video poker.
Yeah.
Because it's a different kind of game, and there are some different considerations there because the way Ultimate X works, we talked about this a little bit before, you play 10 coins to get only a 5-coin payoff. So you're paying 2 to 1 than what you normally do, but you get those bonuses.
That's right.
And when you hit those bonuses, if you get lucky on the next play into the bonuses, which is what happened in this case, you can get a gigantic payoff.
Yeah.
And so the variance on this is absolutely crazy. It's just you're all over the layout. You're way, way down, then you're way, way up. But it is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, if you want to talk about crack for video poker, I would say Ultimate X. And it's kind of cool because you can play it. You know, here's what I would recommend. Before you play Ultimate X, you should go to lasvegasadvisor.com where you can play it for free.
Yeah.
In our game room. And we're building out that game room, but right now we've got the Ultimate X, and you can sit there and play it all day. You get a real good sense for how fast your money can go away and how fast it can come back.
Oh, absolutely. I have a great time playing Ultimate X. It's one of my favorite games to play. And you just got to keep, hitting a few times in a row. You got to get good hands.
It's the guilty pleasure, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But you notice, here's, again, now this is a newbie. So he doesn't know the rule that we talked about before. When you've got a hand, when you've been dealt a hand that you cannot improve, what should you do?
You got to hold everything.
Got to keep all 5. So he didn't. He kept only 4. That's the only small mistake there. He should have kept the card that wasn't the 8.
Yeah.
But that way you can't have any kind of a malfunction, and that's just kind of a pro play.
All right. Well, so you heard it here. We're going to put a link in the description box if you want to try your hand at Ultimate X. And see if you can win those multipliers several hands in a row.
Yeah, so I think that's it for this week. Check out the Palms. Sorry we were a little late on that, but we finally got the Palms Buffet review up. Mm-hmm. And that was put up a couple days earlier. Check it out, and it's a good one.
See you next week.